to be playing a video, but I don't. Okay, guys, welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. We are here to see preview.
When you get to the point where you do the work consistently, you invest in yourself consistently, you make sacrifices consistently when everybody else is slacking off, when everybody's partying, when everybody's making excuses, you will dominate every single person you're up against, and your limits become non-existent. All right, guys, I'm going to try to do this. Welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. We are here to do our ACC preview for tonight, and hopefully this thing is going to work. I've been having some audio and video issues. Try to get this in for you. If you're on Facebook with us, you can help support us by sending stars, or you can subscribe for 99 cents a month. There is a bunch of benefits, cool benefits, like exclusives, content, all. We'll see if we can get this in. I don't know what's going on with my internet tonight, but Will, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Will with Stadium Rant. John's also alongside us right now. So I'm looking forward to previewing the ACC as long as we can get this thing rolling.
Yeah, it's having some issues tonight.
By the way, welcome.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. By the way, welcome to Season 4, Episode 1 of College SportsCast. Thanks for having me on, John and Brad.
Welcome, Will.
Brad, you still with us?
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with this thing. I'm here, but my camera. Okay, I might have to do what John's doing. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I know you ain't got a picture. I don't know what's wrong with the camera on this laptop. Like, it's worked every time I've ever used it, but for some reason it's not working tonight. I don't know what the deal
I don't know
is.
if you need to do a system update or whatnot, but
I don't know. I've never seen this before. I have no idea. This is the first time we've been on a show in 2 weeks, so it's just been setting. I haven't hit nothing, changed nothing.
We've never had this issue before.
I've never seen this before. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. Y'all have got me on audio, but for some reason my camera is off, and I have been working with it for 30 minutes. The guys will tell you, and it just it goes in, then goes out, and in, then out. I'm not sure what's going on with it. But anyways, we're going to jump into this and try to get through this tonight. This is crazy. I ain't never seen this problem ever.
I ain't either. And I've been with you for a while.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what's going on. So, all right. We are going to get to Boston College, guys. I'm going to do these in alphabetical order. So there is no other order other than alphabetical order here for the ACC. And Will, I'm going to throw it to you and to start with. And what's your initial thoughts on Boston College?
I like the way they play. They got Bill O'Brien as the former Penn State and Houston Texans coach, and a New England Patriots offensive coordinator. Maybe he was a defensive coordinator. He was one of the two, though. Either way, he's the head coach of Boston College. He has them playing hard football. They just don't have the talent that a lot of the other schools in the ACC have. So they're probably a 7th or 8th, somewhere in there, if not lower in the conference. They play really hard, but they just don't have the talent to be a top-tier team in the conference.
All right. John, what's your initial thoughts on Boston College?
Yeah, I like Bill O'Brien. Last season was his first year as the head coach. You know, they held Florida State last year to 13 points, which Florida State was not great last year. O'Brien lost some faith in Castellanos, the quarterback. Grayson James come off the bench, played some. They upsetted Syracuse last year. They was, I think, close to beating a 10-win Missouri team last year. The defense was really, really good. They was physical. So hopefully in year 2 they can kind of get to that next level. But with where they're at, it's going to be difficult with how competitive the ACC is.
All right, Will, I'm going to throw it to you. At the bottom of the screen there, it says key players. So who's going to be your key players for Boston College this year?
Well, they got KP Price as junior safety. They got Lewis Bond, the senior wide receiver. They got Grayson James, the senior quarterback. But they also have to have Amir Johnson and Bowery. Their offensive tackles have to be able to produce. Last year, part of the problem for Boston College, they were just flat miserable in the red zone. They didn't do anything in the red zone. And if you can't produce in the red zone in the ACC, let alone the Big Ten or the SEC, you're not going to win very many games. Right. So they're going to have to be able to protect the quarterback a little bit better.
John, who's your key players?
I think it's some of the transfers they got. You know, they got VJ Wilkins from Campbell. They got the tight end Ty Lockwood from Alabama. And they got the another Bama transfer, Dylan Lonergan. He's in the quarterback room as well. They're loaded with freshmen and sophomores in the secondary. Tim Lewis is going to have a decent job putting them together, which they was good last year. The run defense was sound last year. They created a lot of third downs for opponents and had a lot of good stops. I just think their offense needs to be more improved this year. But I think their defense is going to be where they're going to be very seasoned at.
All right, Will, we'll throw this one to you. Try to run through these as quick as we can. But key games for Boston College this year. You can give me 1 or 2 key games.
Well, they have to beat Fordham in the non-conference. They need to try to beat Pitt. If they can beat Pitt, maybe they have a chance to win some conference games. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do against Pitt and Clemson. They can't go 0-2, and I doubt they're going to beat Clemson, so they better beat Pitt.
All right, John, key games.
I think the first game or the second game right out of the gate, I think going to Michigan State is going to be tough in the Big Ten. They play Stanford. on the road as well. They play California at home, at Pitt.
Stanford is picked last in the ACC by the media, by the way.
Yeah, they're
trash.
Yeah, they're not real great, but I think those two games right out of the gate, because there's some winnable games early, like with California, Stanford, which they got the non-major game with Fordham. I think there's 3 or 4 wins there, but I think the Clemson game and the Pitt game is they need to win at least one of those if they're going to go to a bowl.
All right, Will, keys to the season for Boston College this year.
Producing in the red zone, winning some of the 50-50 games. When they play Cal, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Michigan State, Pitt, SMU, you got to go 50-50 in those games. And the quarterback has to produce whoever they end up going with. And if they have another bad year, I'm sorry, Bill O'Brien, it's going to be 2-out at BC.
All right, John, keys to the season.
I think their defense. I think their defense was great last year. Like Will said, I think they need to produce in the red zone. If they can produce in the red zone and use that defense to their advantage, I think they can make a bowl game.
All right, so schedule rundown. I'm going to do this real quick, guys. They play Fordham at home, at Michigan State, Stanford on the road, California at home, Pitt on the road, Clemson at home, UConn at home, Louisville on the road, Notre Dame at home, SMU at home, Georgia Tech at home, and they end the season at Syracuse. With that said, that is their schedule. Will, how many wins do you think they wind up with, and what's their ceiling?
I think they go 4-8. Their ceiling is 6-6.
All right, John?
Their ceiling, I think, could be 7, but I think what they're going to do is I think they're going to go 6-6, or maybe 5-6, 5-7. It all just boils down to the offense and how they can produce.
Yeah, I'm going to give them 5 or 6 wins on the year. I'm going to at least chime in on the total wins as we go along here. But I'm going to give them 5 or 6 wins. And then we are going to move on to California. California is the next team we're going to talk about. Will, start us off with California.
Well, California didn't have the best debut season in the ACC last year, which it makes sense because they have to fly across the country every time they want to play a road game. They were I do like the way they play. I just don't know if it fits into the ACC. Sorry, I was pulling up my notes on California real quick. If you want to take over, John.
I think the defense was really good last year. They returned a lot of experience. I'm not really sure what to expect with Brian Harsin, the new offense coordinator. I like their transfers. The schedule is really good for them. So if either 2 of their quarterbacks play, I think at a solid level, and the defense is, as good as they was a year ago, I think they can do some things. They started out 3-0 last year. If you remember, they hosted College Game Day. Miami came to town, and a lot of people don't remember that game, but they led by as many as 25 points and lost that game. And from there, it kind of fell out by the wayside. That was their story of the year. So hopefully they can get things better, and they got some guys in the portal, and hopefully they'll get back to California football. I think Justin Wilcox is a great coach.
All right, Will, key players for California.
They have a transfer quarterback coming in from the Ohio State University by the name of Devin Brown. He's expected to be the starting quarterback. They got a really strong defensive front 7, probably one of the stronger front 7s in the conference. Their problem is
they got Tyson Ford and TJ Bush Jr.
Those are both phenomenal players on that front 7. Their biggest problem is they have a whole lot of questions on offense.
Yeah, they got a lot of questions. They brought in Kendrick Raphael from NC State. They brought in the running back Brandon High from UTSA. They got LJ Johnson from SMU. They got 5, I think, new wide receivers. I think they got 2 tight ends. They got a Jacob DeJesus. He's a high-level receiver from UNLV. And they got 2 of one of the most probably the explosive receivers in FCS, Mark Hamper and Warren Adams from Idaho and South Dakota. So it'll be interesting to see how Brian Harsin puts this team together and how they work things out on the offensive side of the ball.
Will, give me some of your key games for California. I think right off the bat they have a key one.
They go to Minnesota week 2. They also have to play Florida State and Auburn. So there's 3 games that are going to decide how their season's going to go. I'm not sold on Mike Norvell and Florida State. No offense, Mike. I think you're in over your head. Auburn, it's to be determined what Auburn will or won't be this season. Minnesota, they're just another Big Ten program. But whether or not they can beat Louisville and programs like that's what's going to determine whether or not they can get to a bowl game. I actually don't think they're going to have a very good season.
John, what do you think?
I'm with you. I think right out of the gate they got to figure out how to win one of those games. Steal one of those games. Maybe the Auburn game. I'm not sure on Florida State. We'll cover them pretty soon, but I think I have to win a couple of those games to at least go bowl and see where you go from there.
All right, Will, keys to the season for California.
Devin Brown has to play solid football. Their defense has to produce. They got some explosive wide receivers. They got to make plays. They got to steal 2 of the 3 against Florida State, Auburn, or Minnesota. If they don't, they're not going bowling.
John, what do you think is a key to their season?
I think it's quarterback play. If they could probably top last year's win total if there's some kind of solid contribution from the quarterback room.
All right. So look at their schedule. They start out at Oregon State, Texas Southern at home, Minnesota at home, San Diego State on the road, Boston College on the road. Then they play Duke at home, North Carolina at home, Virginia Tech on the road. They get Virginia at home, Louisville on the road, Stanford on the road, and SMU at home. Looking at their schedule, Will, win total.
I'm going to say 3-9. No offense to Justin Wilcox, who I do like. He's just in a rough spot.
John, what do you think on the win?
I think they probably even out at probably 6 wins.
6?
I think they get enough to go bowling. Yeah.
I mean, they've got some tough games. I mean, when you got, Louisville and you've got San Diego State, you've got Minnesota, you've got Oregon State. I mean, they've got some tough games. I think just to go bowling will be a pretty good season for them, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. We're going to get to the big one here, I guess. This is the one that seems like wins the ACC more often than not. We got Clemson on the board, Will. What do you think about Clemson this year?
As a Louisville fan, I hate Clemson. I hate Clemson with the passion. It all goes back to the Lamar Jackson day. We had that game won, but we're not talking about 2016. We're talking about this season. They got maybe one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the country in Cade Klubnik. They also got TJ Parker on the edge. Of course, they got everybody's favorite good old Southern boy head coach, Dabo Swinney. They should win the ACC again. I'm going to predict that Louisville knocks them off in the title game, but they should at least make the title game.
John, what do you think on Clemson here? Just initial thoughts.
I think they're probably going to have one of their better offensive lines they've had in a while. They returned 4 senior starters, Blake Miller, an all-conference tackle. And I think Cade Klubnik, he's probably in that Heisman race, and he brings back 3 of his top 4 receivers, and Antonio Williams, Bryant Wesco Jr., and T.J. Moore. I actually think this Clemson team will be more polished, you say, than they was a year ago. There was a lot of mix and matches last year that they never could put it together, seemed like. But I think they will put it together this year, and I think they'll make a run at the college football playoff like they did a year ago. But I think they'll go farther this year.
Key players, Will.
They got T.J. Parker on the edge. They got Cade Klubnik at quarterback. They got Blake Miller, an offensive tackle. They got Antonio Williams, a wide receiver. He's a junior wide receiver. They got Sammy Brown, a sophomore linebacker. I do predict that they will make a run at the college football playoffs.
Well, and I'm the same way, Will. I think you know, if Clemson's ever going to be where they want to be again, you got to figure it's going to come with an experienced team like they have coming into this year. The offense, it's lacked a lot the last couple of years. It's going to be up to Klubnik. You know, if the defense can rebound, they was really young last year. Peter Woods is probably one of the best, you know, players in the country on their defense. So I think there's a lot of guys on this team, especially offensively and defensively, that are experienced that is going to be very key for Clemson.
Key games, Will. I mean, listen, you got to say game 1, really, I think. I know it's not an ACC game, but what's that?
I think it's the first 2 games.
Yeah, I think
they play LSU and Georgia Tech right off the bat. They're going to know real quick if they're contenders or pretenders.
I think the LSU game is where we find out whether or not, you know, they're going to be in the running for the college football playoff, because one of these teams is going to lose, okay? And it's going to put them behind the 8 ball real quick with the 0-1 record. So one of these teams is going to get a head start on the other for the run to the college football playoff. And I don't think one loss
at Clemson is not an easy task.
And I don't think one loss hurts you, but, you know, you want to win this game if you're LSU or Clemson.
Yes, I agree with you, John, with a caveat. One loss for Clemson might hurt them. One loss for LSU in the SEC was not going to be that big of a deal. No offense, ACC. We're not as good as SEC. So one loss for an ACC team actually might hurt us.
All right, so keys to the season for Clemson, Will.
Klubnik has to produce. They have to have another solid defense. They got to come out and shut Brian Kelly up week 1. I think most people in the SEC would agree nobody likes Brian Kelly, except for people at LSU. They got to continue to take care of the ball. And if they can keep take care of their 50-50 games, which if you're Clemson, you really shouldn't have any. But they do have Boston College, Duke, Florida State, Louisville. Their schedule's not super easy. They also play Shake, South Carolina, Gamecocks. So they play some really good quarterbacks this year.
Yeah.
I
John,
think,
keys to the season.
I think it's the defense. You know, it was really rough for, I think, our 3 years. They had Wes Goodwin. They, you know, Sweeney went out and got former Penn State defensive coordinator Tom Allen. I think there's going to be a lot of improvement there. And I think they'll probably have a top 10 ranking in defense. And I think they'll be much, much more crisp and smoother on the defensive side of the ball going forward.
All right, a quick schedule rundown. They start at home, LSU, on week 1. That's going to be a big game. Then they get Troy at home. They're on the road at Georgia Tech, at home against Syracuse, on the road North Carolina, on the road to Boston College. They get SMU at home, Duke at home, and Florida State at home in the middle of the season. On the road to Louisville, they play Furman at home, and end the season at South Carolina. That is a look at their schedule. How many wins do you think the Clemson Tigers get, Will?
I want to predict 10, and their ceiling is 11.
Yep, that's where I'm at. I think you got to win the LSU game because, Brad, we've seen in the past where if you lose a game like a conference like the ACC and the Big Ten and such of these conferences, some of these teams don't have the schedule to bring them back up to the front.
I'm going to be honest with you. Clemson's going to get the benefit of the doubt. If they lose against LSU, wait a second. Yeah. If they lose against LSU and go undefeated in the ACC, 8-0 or 9-0, whatever it is there, I mean, they're still going to probably.
I'm saying Clemson, yes, but a team like SMU or a team like Miami is not going to get what Clemson gets in terms of moving forward and moving in the top 5. Like Clemson's going to have
10 or 11 wins is what I'm predicting here.
Yeah, that's what I'm at. 10 or 11.
Yeah. Either 10 or 11 here for them. All right. Our next team we're going to get to is Duke. Will, what's your initial takes on Duke?
Well, Duke always plays hard. I'm not sure how competitive they're going to be this year. It's year 2 after Mike Elko has gone down to Texas A&M. For the life of me, I can't remember who the head coach is at Duke right now.
It's the guy that was at Miami.
Yeah, Manny Diaz.
Manny Diaz, yeah.
I'm not sold on Manny Diaz being a big-time conference college football coach. He was in over his head at Miami. He's in the same conference. I think they have a chance to go bowling. I want to predict them to go bowling, but they certainly have a chance.
All right, John, what's your initial thoughts on Duke?
I like Manny Diaz. I think he's a good defensive coordinator. He's got some really good ends in Wesley Williams and Vincent Anthony Jr. But 4 of the last year's 5 linebackers are gone. And he didn't get any portal guys, which he's happy with what I guess he's got. I think there's going to be maybe some lumps that Dukes takes along the way. And I just, Mike Elko is a wonderful coach. He resurrected the Duke program. He won 17 games in 22 and 23. But Manny Diaz pretty much inherited a team that needed a new quarterback and an overhaul on the line, and I think he's done some of that. So it'll be interesting to see what Duke does this year in his second year.
Key players, Will. Who's some key players you think on this Duke football team?
They got a cornerback, Chandler Rivers. They got a sophomore quarterback in Darian Menza. They have Wesley Williams, defensive end. And they have Trey Freeman, a senior linebacker. So they got some pieces on the defensive side of the ball. It's all going to come down to what Menza can do on the offensive side of the ball.
John, key players.
I think it's the quarterback. Darian Menza, he's from Tulane. He was 21st in quarterback rating in his freshman season. He was behind Klubnik, I think, and Haynes King. They was pretty strong at Tulane, so from a efficiency standpoint. So I think the quarterback play is going to be key for Duke if they want to go far.
I agree with that. He was a good quarterback for Tulane last year. All right, so key games. What do you got as a key game for Duke?
I'll go first. Let me see.
They play Tulane, 3rd game of the year, by the way.
Yeah, they do at Tulane. I think the Illinois game's big. The Illinois game right out of the gate, Illinois is going to be strong too. They play Illinois and Tulane back to back, and then they come home back and play NC State. I think there's some key games in there that they need to win. But I really think that Illinois game's huge for purposes that if you get 2-0 going to Tulane, you can afford to drop that game and maybe get to a bowl game. But that Illinois game's pretty huge. Plus, it's a home game.
Will, key games.
I'm going to say Illinois is the key game. Georgia Tech is the key game. I am going to disagree with you on one thing, John. If you're an ACC team, it is never okay to lose to Tulane.
Yeah, but Tulane's pretty good.
Tulane's had some good teams the last couple of years.
Yeah, they're a decent team now. All right, so keys to the season for this Duke football team, Will.
Mensa's got to be able to get the offense up and down the field. They got to be able to put points on the board. Manny Diaz is a defensive specialist. That I will give him credit for. He's got to have a good, solid defense going. They got to win their 50-50 games, like when they play NC State, North Carolina, Syracuse. They got to beat UConn and Virginia. So all in all, it's just beating the teams you should beat and not losing to the teams you shouldn't.
All right, John. Keys to the season.
I think it's quarterback. Like I said, I think Mensa is going to be a big piece for them, and I think they got some explosive receivers. So I think the defense done their part the last couple of years. Elko had them playing really, really, really good football. So I think quarterback play is going to be huge for them going forward.
All right. They start out the season against Elon. They play Illinois at home, at Tulane, NC State at home, at Syracuse, at California, Georgia Tech at home, Clemson on the road. Then they play at UConn, Virginia at home, North Carolina on the road, and they finish the season at home against Wake Forest. So with that schedule, where do you see
7 wins? I see 7 wins on this. Yeah, I think there's 7 wins on this schedule.
I'm going to say 8 wins. Their floor is 7, and their ceiling is 9.
I mean, guys, I was thinking 7 would be a max, so I'm gonna say that, but I'm gonna let y'all do most of the predicting here tonight. So, all right, we are gonna move on from Duke, and we're gonna get to Florida State. Will, Florida State had a rough year last year. What do you got them doing this year?
I think this is going to be Mike Norvell's last season out at Florida State. Great guy. He was awesome. I believe he came from – John, help me out here. I want to say he came from Memphis.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's a great coach. Just Florida State's a tough job, and it's a tough conference, and the expectations of Florida State thinks to Bobby Bowden are win 10 or 11 bowl games every year and finish in the top 15, and he just doesn't have the coaching talent to do that.
John, what's your initial thoughts on Florida State?
I mean, they had a hangover year last year. The snub in the 2023 college football playoff. They lost Jordan Travis. They regressed a little bit. And he's done some things in the offseason to kind of bring it in. He's brought a lot of transfers in. I know he brought the quarterback from Boston College, Thomas Castellanos. They got Sawchuck from Oklahoma, Squirrel White from Tennessee, Gavin Blackwell from North Carolina. So he's pretty much starting over again and having to kind of rebuild the team. And I think you'll see a much improved team from what we saw a year ago.
Okay, you're already naming players, so give me some key players.
I think Castellanos is huge for them quarterback-wise. Defensive side of the ball, they got Darrell Jackson Jr., Daniel Lyons. They got Jason Jenkins from Tennessee, a transfer. I think this will spruce up the pass rush. It was so bad last year, the defense. It was so bad. So hopefully we'll see a, rebound. But if you pull off another collapse, how many wins does Norville need to win to assure that he's in Tallahassee is my question.
I'm guessing at least 7, maybe 8. That's my guess. Will, key players.
You got a safety, Edwin Joseph. You got James Williams also in the trenches. You also got Jeremiah Wilson, a safety, corner transferring from Houston. But key player is a coach, not a player. And I'm surprised you didn't bring it up, John. They brought in Tony White from Nebraska to change their defense from what it was to a 3-3-5. So a lot of it's going to depend on how well they can handle that change.
Yeah, that's a big change, yeah.
All right, key game, John. They start the season out with Alabama, so
I mean it don't get any bigger than that, does it? I mean,
yeah, I mean that's a pretty big one right there.
I will say this:
yeah.
If they was to come out and beat Alabama, they play East Texas A&M, Kent State, Virginia, 3 straight winnable games. If you can beat Alabama and be 4-0 going into the Miami game, I think you set yourself up for a great season. But you got to win that Alabama game, I think.
All right, Will, key games. Alabama and Miami. And John, you said beat Alabama like, it's just we're going over here to play the Ball State Cardinals or somebody. If they could beat Alabama, then all of a sudden I'm going to be impressed. But I think Kalen DeBoer and Alabama's in a pissed-off mood the way last season ended. And they're absolutely going to spank Florida State week 1.
Yeah,
Alabama's keys to the season, guys. What's your keys for the Seminoles?
I think it's the quarterback play again. Like, I know everybody says, well, there's other positions, but I think quarterback play is pretty huge in some of these.
That defense was horrendous, though. They have to improve that defense.
They have to improve the defense, though. It was probably the worst I've seen from a Florida State team in quite a while. And they kind of bulked up, and they got some guys. They got some good transfers. Like I said, they got James Williams from Nebraska, Elijah Herring from Memphis. I think you're going to see a bounce back, and I think they'll be better than they was a year ago.
Will, keys to the season.
They got to beat Alabama. They got to beat Miami. They got to adapt to the 3-3-5 change on defense. Mike Norvell's got to get the media and the fan base to be quiet. Unfortunately for Mike Norvell, if they come out and they get blown out by Alabama week 1, the noise is going to be deafening.
I mean, they got 3 winnable games after Bama. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, if they
could be 3-1 and then get into ACC play and do okay and still have a 7 or 8 win season.
If you're going into the Miami game 4-0 and you get Miami at home, so I mean, you're looking pretty at that point.
All right, they start out with Alabama. They start out with Alabama, and then they play like East Texas A&M, Eastern Texas A&M. I don't even know what Texas A&M is, to be honest with you. Kent State, they play at Virginia, Miami at home, Pitt at home, Stanford on the road, another winnable game, Wake Forest at home, winnable game, at Clemson, Virginia Tech at home, NC State on the road, and then they end the season at Florida. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's always a rivalry game's tough.
All right. Win totals. This is going to be key for Norvell, I think.
7-5 and he gets fired.
I think he's got to win at least 8. I think to keep his job, or 6 or 7 wins is not going to cut it at Florida State. I can just tell you, because the fan base won't go through another season like they did a year ago.
No, not like they did a year ago. That's for sure. I'll guarantee you that. All right, we're getting to Georgia Tech. What's your initial thoughts on Georgia Tech?
You want to go first, John?
I can't. I love this Georgia Tech team. I think they had a really good year last year. I think Brent Key is doing a wonderful job. This is his 4th year, and he's 18-16 overall. Before he got there, Georgia Tech struggled at times. They were doing something special last year. They played 3 top 10 teams, Brad, and they looked really good against all 3. They beat Florida State and Ireland. They knocked off Miami. They eventually lost to Georgia. I think it was felt like 120 overtime seemed like.
They played them tough.
It was 8, but they went 5-5 in the others. They lost at Syracuse, lost at Louisville. Haynes King went down, and they lost to a fun Vanderbilt team. So there's a lot to be excited about in Georgia Tech land and Atlanta. I think this is going to be another fun team this year, and I think they can do some things.
Will, what's your thoughts on the Yellow Jackets?
I actually think Brent Key's doing a great job. He might end up being the ACC Coach of the Year, depending on how they do with some of their out of non-conference games. I think they could be a playoff team. I do think they'll be in the ACC championship game. They return a crap ton on offense, and they got a pretty good defense coming back too.
They also bring back Jamal Haynes, their big top running back.
Yes, they do.
So key players, there you go, John. You open the door. There's one.
Jamal Haynes, I think, is one. They brought in, I think, 2 Ford International players, Eric Rivers and Dean Patterson. They brought a ton of defensive guys in. Akilio Stone from Ole Miss, Daquan White from Eastern Michigan. He's loaded up on the defensive side, and it was necessary last year. 7 of their 19 defenders with 200-plus snaps is gone. Returned for Blake Gideon. So they haven't had a really top 50 defense probably since 2017, but they only allowed 31 points in 5 of their losses. So it's clear the defense pretty much held them back last year. So I think they need to improve on the defensive side of the ball to if they want to do special things.
All right, Will, we're talking key players here. What do you got?
They need Malachi Carney, who's a transfer from South Alabama, to hold down that right tackle spot. They need a left tackle, Ethan McKinney, to return to his freshman All-American status from 2023. They need Malik Rutherford to have another great year at wide receiver. And they need Haynes to probably go for 1,500 yards on the ground. On offense, on defense, they're pretty stacked.
Is Haynes King still there?
Yep.
Like, how is he still in college, guys? Seriously.
It seems like he's been there a while.
All right. Key games. John, I'll start with you. What do you got?
I think you got to look at it, starting out. They play at Colorado right out of the gate. Like, they play Deion Sanders. It's a national televised game. And it don't get any easier after that. Third week, they play Clemson. So they could be 1-2 to start the year because they play Gardner-Webb in the middle of those. So, and they only play, I think, 2 top 40 teams. And I think that's Clemson and Georgia. So their schedule is beneficial for them if they can avoid the, mid-season collapse like they did last year.
Will, key game. Our key games.
Colorado, Clemson, and Georgia. If they can win 2 of the 3 or all 3, if they win all 3, they're for sure in the college football playoffs.
Yeah, I think. Well, I wouldn't say they're in the playoffs, but I think they're on the average to at least a bowl.
If you beat Clemson and Georgia, I promise you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, you win those games, you might
take
be
their business outside of them. Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So,
all right, keys to the season, John. What do you got for them?
I think it's Haynes King being healthy. His shoulder got injured last year. I think he's had shoulder issues. So I think Haynes King's a big piece. I think Jamal Haynes is another one. He's probably one of the best running backs I've seen come across the ACC in quite a while. He's very dynamic, very shifty. I think with him and Haynes King doubling up the backfield, I think they got a shot at being really good offensively.
Will, keys to the season.
Getting off to a fast start, keeping Haynes King healthy. Jeremiah Haynes needs to produce. And then later in the season, if they're having a good season, can Brent Key keep the noise down about whether or not he'll look for a bigger job like Auburn or Florida State? Can you keep that noise out of the locker room?
That's a good key right there, I think. Schedule rundown, guys. They start at Colorado, Gardner-Webb at home, Clemson at home, Temple at home, Wake Forest on the road, Virginia Tech at home, Duke on the road, Syracuse at home, on the road at NC State. That's always a tough place to play. Boston College on the road, Pitt at home, and then they end at home against Georgia. So what's your projected win total? John, I'll start with you.
I think 7. I think they're on a trajectory to win 7 games, 8 games. I think the schedule is favorable to them. The only 2 games that concern me is the Clemson game and the Georgia game. If you can at least win one of those, you got an opportunity to make some noise.
Will, you're talking college football playoff here. So how good do you think this Georgia Tech team can be?
I think they can go 10-2. I predict they go 9-3, but I think they could go 10-2. And if they could get to that ACC championship game, they might surprise Clemson.
I mean, I think 9-3 is attainable. Looking at their schedule, I mean, NC State on the road is never an easy place to win. Of course, you got Clemson and Georgia, and on the road at Colorado. So, but I say 8 or 9 wins is where I say with Georgia Tech.
I'll be right back, gentlemen. Right. I need to get some water.
Oh boy, guess who we get to do next?
Yeah, he's leaving right as I was getting ready to do Louisville.
I'll start out. Right. Braun come in and changed the culture. He took over a team that really struggled the last couple of years. They was 25, I think. It felt like, Brad, that they lost everybody when he came in. Like they had, I think, 25, 26 transfers go out. He brought in, I think, quite a bit. They improved to 10-4. By your 3rd year, Brad, you probably want to have your coach and your own recruits in place. So I think he's done a good job of that. They bring back some really dynamic running backs, Isaac Brown and Duke Watson, Chris Bell. This should be a fun team. And their 3rd starting quarterback in many years. They bring in Miller Moss. Louisville should be fun to watch this year, honestly.
All right, Will, this is your team. What do you think about the Louisville Cardinals?
This is my team. And don't forget, guys, we went into Lexington and took the big dog, which is okay. Because come November, we're going to paint this entire state red and white. But we have some dominant running backs. We got some great wide receivers. We have the best head coach in the Commonwealth. It's not even close. I think
he's throwing strays, Brad.
I think if we don't make the playoffs, it'll be a disappointing team. There's 12 teams, and there ain't a reason we can't get one of those 12 seeds. Miller Moss is going to be the next starting quarterback in the NFL out of the University of Louisville, following Tyler Show. Isaac Brown might be the fastest running back in college football. I also like Duke Watson, Chris Bell. I like our defensive system. It's all love. You guys know I love UK too.
I'll let you look. This is we're talking ACC, so I'll let you go on this one tonight. Let's go key players, John. Who do you got as key players for Louisville?
I mean, I like Isaac Brown. I think he's a really.
I'll be honest with you guys. I think it's Miller Moss because they got some people.
They do.
But Moss has got to come in and play. He has not played up to his potential. So
no, he has not, and I think he's got four good wideouts. He's got some linemen they got through the portal, and you got to know Braun. Most of the time, he has really good offenses, and they're used to handling.
And he usually gets the most out of the quarterback. So Moss has got to produce.
And I tell you something else that needs to happen. Their defense, you can kind of jump off this, Will. They've trended in the wrong direction lately. 14 of their 19 defenders with plus snaps are gone. So, I mean, they're going to have to rebuild their defense a little bit. Their defense has not been great the last 2 or 3, 4 years. So I think with the change and with Brom, I think you'll see a better unit going forward. And they brought in some really good guys too.
All right, Will, key players.
Obviously, it's Miller Moss. We're going to go as Miller goes. If we have to go to a backup quarterback, our backups are not very good. We got Isaac Brown and Duke Watson, Chris Bell. We did lose Gelati and Quincy Wiley on the defensive side of the ball. But we brought in JoJo Evans from FIU, Rodney Johnson from FC Southern. We got Jabari Mack from Jacksonville State. We got Justin Agu from Louisiana. We also brought in some good defensive linemen. It's really going to determine whether or not we can run the ball down people's throat. Miller Moss can be slightly more than a game manager, and whether or not we can win the turnover battle.
All right, key games, John. What's some key games you got for?
I mean, they play Clemson at home, Miami and SMU away. They go to Pitt and Virginia Tech. That's that's tough. I think the Miami game's pretty big. I think the Clemson game's the one I'm circling. It's at home.
I mean, I'm sitting here looking at this schedule. Their first 3 games, they might as well just take the B team.
Hey, we're going to work hard for those victories now.
I'm just saying.
Our big games this year is going to be obviously Clemson and the biggest game for us. Even in his first year when we won 10 in a row, we went into Kentucky. We got smacked in the mouth. It doesn't matter what kind of seed. Kentucky could be 0-11 coming into that ball game. Mark Stoops could know he's getting fired. I don't think either one of those will happen. That's just the worst case scenario. And he's still going to have Kentucky fired up. We got to find a way to beat Kentucky back-to-back years. And as much smack as I might talk, I'm not convinced we can do that.
I agree with you on that one, I have to say. So, keys to the season, John.
Like you said, it's probably Miller Moss. I think he's got to provide, good quarterback play. I mean, you got 2 good running backs in the back room. I think, he's not lived up to what we thought he would, but he's in a new place. Change of scenery sometimes does guys good. So hopefully Miller Moss.
And Brom seems to be the quarterback whisperer. So
yeah, he's another Dan Mullen, seemed like.
Will, keys to the season.
It's going to be Miller Moss, our running backs, and then our linebackers with TJ Quinn and Stequan Clark. Also, we bring in Khalid Perry from Tennessee. Our linebackers are going to have to be able to get sideline to sideline, and in the backfield, there's some really good quarterbacks and running backs in the ACC.
Also, all right, I'm going to run this schedule down. They start out with a bunch of powder puffs. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yeah, we do.
They play Eastern Kentucky at home, James Madison at home, and Bowling Green at home. Then they finally go on the road at Pitt, Virginia at home, Miami on the road, Boston College at home, Virginia Tech on the road, California at home, Clemson at home, and then they end the season at SMU. So with that schedule, John, I'll go with you first. Where do you think the win total is for the Cardinals?
I think it's at 9.
Wait a second. I said they end the season. They end the season against Kentucky at home. Sorry.
I think there's 9 wins there.
I'm going to say 10-2, but 9-3 is probably more likely.
I think I'm going to go 9 with them. I do think they're going to have a really good year. I think they're going to be at the top echelon of the ACC this year. I will say that. I will not knock Brom as a coach. He is a very good coach. I will give you that. He's a great offensive mind. And like I said, he's pretty much a quarterback whisperer. So I will say that. I have to give him that much. That was a great hire. bringing him back. All right, we're going to Miami. And, John, what's your initial thoughts on Miami and the job that Mario's doing?
I mean, it's not been great, but it's been better than what Miami has had.
That I agree with. I think they still have been complaining, but it's been better than what they've had.
You know, I don't think it's the U yet. I think they're still kind of moving in that direction. But there's just a lot of questions I have with Mario Cristobal and his game management. You know, last year was atrocious. You know, they was down 7 points against Syracuse. Okay,
I'll never forget the one.
4th and goal from the was it the 9 or 10 Syracuse?
Just take a knee, Mario. Just take a knee.
He took the ball out of Cam Ward's hands and kicked the field goal.
Absolutely stupid play.
He lost one game just simply by not taking a knee and fumbled.
Ward didn't touch the ball, and pretty much their ACC title and college football hopes went by the wayside. So I think his game decisions has a lot to be desired, and I think it's going to be tough not having Cam Ward. I mean, they did get Carson Beck, which I think is going to be he's going to have a bounce back year from where he had last year with Georgia. So a lot to be desired with this Miami team.
All right, Will, what's your initial thoughts here with Miami?
They did lose Cam Ward, probably a really great quarterback. He was the number 1 pick. They did get Carson back. They have a whole lot of questions on the back end of that defense.
$6 million, the way I understand.
And I like Mario Cristobal as a guy. He just doesn't seem like he's the right fit there. And I'm going to go to make a bold prediction here. He does not last the season. He will be fired before November.
Wow. You think so?
It's just not the right fit. That, and especially considering the way he was hired, they hired him when they already still had a head coach.
All right, key players, John. Who you got as key players for the Hurricanes?
Well, I think Carson Beck is one. I mean, he's got to have a bounce back year.
Like I said, the $6 million man.
The problem with Beck was he looked like the best quarterback in college football, and then he was throwing interceptions. And it just – he was so inconsistent. Now, they do have Mark Fletcher Jr. and Jordan Lyle coming back. They got a talented wide receiver in Charmar Brown. So I think the offense is going to be fine. The defense is where they need a lot of work. The offense covered their tail last year, pretty much. They allowed 34 more points last year on that side of the ball.
Yep.
Beck is a very good quarterback, but they're going to need some help on the defensive side of the ball if they want to win some of these games that are crucial right out of the gate, which they play Florida right out of the gate.
Key players here for Miami.
Carson Beck, receiver Josiah Trader, Tony Johnson. They need they need somebody to step up in that backfield. Ruben needs to get some pressure on the quarterbacks, and O.J. Frederick Jr. needs to come up with some interceptions and turnovers.
Key games, John.
I think Florida right out of the gate is probably the biggest one they'll play right starting out. I mean, and I think we'll find out what they're made of when they go to FSU early. I think it's week 3 maybe. So I wouldn't say it might not be the most talented Miami team that they had a year ago, but there's a chance for them to be really good.
They have a tough schedule to start the season out.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
They got to beat Florida and Florida State and then take care of business in the rest of the games if they want to reach their preseason ranking, and I think they'll start the season somewhere ranked inside the top 10.
I think if you want to get to the college football playoff, you can't lose both of those. You got to at least win one.
Keys to the season. Is that going to be one of your keys? Is winning those games?
That's going to be winning those games. I think you can't lose both of those, because if you lose both of those, it's probably Katie bar the door. It's season playing for a bowl game at that point.
Will, keys to the season.
Carson Beck has to prove he's more than just a byproduct of Kirby Smart's system, and that he's a winning quarterback, not just he was winning ball games because he played for Kirby Smart in the University of Georgia. Also, they got to beat Florida and Florida State. If you lose both of those, it's Katie bar the door. Things about to get real ugly in Miami. Yeah. So it's really going to be decided in the first month of the season what kind of season.
All right, so neither one of y'all talked about this, but they start the season off in the Aflac kickoff game against Notre Dame to start the year.
Yeah, they play Notre Dame too.
They got Bethune at home, South Florida at home, and then they got Florida at home and Florida State on the road, and then they have Louisville at home. So the first 6 games are pretty tough, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get
Miami.
to. Brad.
Then you get Stanford at home, SMU on the road, Syracuse at home, NC State at home, Virginia Tech at home, and they end the season at Pitt. I'm going to be honest with you guys. That's a tough schedule.
It is
for the ACC.
That's what I was trying to get with the Florida and Florida State game. You can't lose both of those because you play Notre Dame first. Because if you lose to Notre Dame and you lose the 2 games that we mentioned, Florida and Florida State, you're not probably going to the college football playoff.
I mean, now, like I said, you got Louisville in there, you got Notre Dame in there, you've got NC State in there, you've got SMU in there. I mean, they've got a tough road, I think.
They do. They got a tough road right out of the gate. Yep.
John, predict your win total for Miami.
I'm going to go 8-4. I think they'll be good, but I don't think they have the season they had last year.
All right, Will.
I'm going to say 6-6.
If they go 6-6, you might be right. Manny might be out, or not Manny. Mario might be out. Cristobal might be out the door if they go 6-6. And looking at that schedule, guys, like I think 7-5, 8-4 is very likely with this Miami team. Looking at that schedule. All right, we're going to get to North Carolina, and the most interesting thing about North Carolina, Will, is
Bill Belichick and his 23-year-old girlfriend.
There you go. You got it right. There's a quiz. I just make sure you've paid attention.
I mean, we've had plenty of time to get used to this idea, Brad, that Bill Belichick is running a college football program. Like,
I still ain't used to it, though.
It's going to be really odd to see this man, 6-time Super Bowl winning champion, leading them onto the field against TCU Monday night. Like, I've never really had any vision of him going to the ACC. I have no idea how this is going to end up. He's put some guys around him that are really, really good. Freddie Kitchens, Mike Pfeiffer. I like the roster. I think they got a really good quarterback in Gio Lopez. I think there's a lot of guys on this team that can be really good. So we'll find out.
Will, outside of what I asked you, what's your initial thoughts here, North Carolina?
Well, they have a lot of big-time coaches, but they haven't proven anything on the college level. And also, guys, I say this more as a joke than anything else. But if you've seen any of the interviews they're doing, is he really running the program, or does he have to go, honey, is it okay if I punt here on 4th down?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah. 73-year-old man that doesn't seem to be in charge. I'm just saying.
I'm just wondering if that's going to become if they start to struggle, does that issue become so loud? North Carolina might have to be like, look, dude, you got to go.
All right, key players. Who you got, John?
Like I said, I like the quarterback. They got some really good defensive players from the portal. Andrew Simpson's one. He was, a really good linebacker for Boise State. Micah Gaber from Nebraska. Kamori House. They allowed 34 points in 5 of their 7 losses last year. It's going to take time to grow.
Their defense has never been great. It wasn't great under Mac Brown either.
If I don't know if you watched the App State, was it the App State game last year?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was. Whew. Couldn't stop a nosebleed, and they're going to have to grow on that side of the ball with Bill Belichick. I think their offense will be fine, but I think their defense needs a lot of work.
Key players.
Price Yates on the defensive line. He had 12. He has 12 and a half career sacks coming in. He was also defensive MVP against the Tar Heels in the Fenway Bowl. They also need C.J. Mims and DeAndre Robinson, who's a Florida transfer, to produce. And they also need to be able to run the ball. I'm just really excited to see how this Bill Belichick experiment goes.
Me too,
wrong.
to be honest with you. I think the whole world's going to be watching just exactly what happens, to be honest. All right, key games, John.
I think, the TCU game's huge right out of the gate. Like,
right off the bat.
It's a Monday night game. It's nationally televised. It's going to be the first time that, Bill Belichick steps out onto that field as a college coach, which is going to be oddly odd to see. So how does he respond with that? I think their schedule sets up for him, though. They play at Charlotte after that, Richmond, at UCF, which UCF I think is going to be a little bit down this year compared to the last few years, which they got Coach Frost back from Nebraska. Then they play Clemson. So I think there's some winnable games in there that they could get them to a bowl game and have a good season under Belichick.
All right. Key games, Will.
TCU, obviously, the whole country is going to be watching that game. That's the reason it's on a Monday night. They also got to play Clemson, Virginia. They got to play Duke. So they got a very easy schedule if this actually works.
Well, and they play NC State to end the year, which is never tough playing a rival game. So that'll be the first time we see Belichick in a rivalry game. So that will be interesting as well.
All right, keys to the season for this Carolina team.
I think it's Bill Belichick. How does he?
Is it Belichick or his girlfriend?
Well, I think it's Belichick. I think it's I think you got to look at it from both sides. How does it kind of?
It might be Jordan. I'm just saying
how it meshes together.
And I'm not talking about Michael.
Because this could be either good or it could be an absolute disaster. And
John, you were supposed to laugh at that, David.
I was going.
All right, Will. Keys to the season.
How well does Bill Belichick, or a.k.a. Jordan, handle the media pressure that's going to be there week in and week out? Can he avoid getting into situations, since he is dating I don't know how old she is. She still smells like Similac. But can he avoid going to parties and getting caught in situations he shouldn't be at? How quickly can he adapt to the ACC? Guys, can we agree this is going to go either really well or really, really bad?
It could be an absolute nightmare.
It's
golly, that was a good one. It got me going pretty good on that one there. All right, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think their schedule is all that tough. They do have a tough game starting out. TCU, that is on the Monday night. They play on the road at Charlotte. They play Richmond at home. They get UCF on the road. Clemson at home will be a tough one. California on the road. They get Virginia at home, Syracuse on the road, Stanford at home. Those are winnable games. Wake Forest on the road is a winnable game. Duke at home, and then they end the season at NC State. I do not think that's a terrible schedule.
Now, they got a pretty easy schedule. The one thing we didn't talk about, and it's probably a key to the season, every other coach is going to be fired up to say, I beat Bill Belichick.
Yeah, they're going to be – it's going to be a big deal to them. Yeah.
Yeah. How many Super Bowl rings does he have? 6?
6.
Yeah.
And I think their win total is probably going to be around 7.
I think looking at the schedule, man, they have 8 wins on that schedule, if you ask me. I mean, to me, it looks like it.
I think they're going to struggle a little bit at first. I think it's going to take some time to get accustomed to Bill Belichick, but I think over time they'll start playing really well.
Does Sonny Dykes run them out off the field offensively the first game?
Yes.
How many wins do you think they get, Will?
They should have 8 or 9. It's all going to come down to whether or not they can stay focused on football. So I'm going to take 7.
All right, NC State. John, I'll start off with you. What's your initial thoughts here with NC State?
Well, Dave Doran, he's been there 13 years.
He's done
He's done a really good job. You know, he's a very underrated coach. There's a lot of reason for hope for an offense. You know, they got C.J. Bailey was really good, I thought, as a true freshman. You know, he was up there. He was ranked, I think, 65th in quarterback rating. He was between Dylan Raiola and DJ Lagway. He was really great. He blew out Stanford, almost upset Georgia Tech. His performance against North Carolina was really, really good. This might be one of the best offenses NC State's probably had in quite a while. If their defense can kind of get back to where they need to be. Their defense wasn't real great last year.
No, but I tell you what, I've seen a little positive buzz about NC State in the ACC.
I have.
Will, what do you think?
Well, it is his 13th year at NC State, and he's done a pretty good job. However, he has 2 new coordinators this year. Kurt Roper is going to take over the offense. He was ranked 62nd last year. And DJ Elliott's going to take over the defense. And he's known for a pressure-based blitzing type of defense. It all depends on how fast they can get used to those 2 changes on the both sides of the ball. Now, that happens a lot in the NFL. It doesn't so much happen in college where you have both.
You know what's truly amazing about NC State is I brought up this fact. That was their first losing record in 5 years last year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Key players, John, what do you think?
I think it's C.J. Bailey. I think they got some linebackers, Sean Brown. They got Brandon Cleveland. Trevelli Price, and they got a new defensive coordinator too, and DJ Elliott.
Elliott was at LSU last time.
He was. And I think, you know, and they got a good running back too, Hollywood Smothers. What a name! And Noah Rogers. He's a really good wide receiver. Both were big portal guys. So I think they'll have some decent offensive pieces there, and I think the defense need to get back to where they need to be, like I said.
I'm going to ask you about losing Concepcion. Is that going to make a big difference for this Wolfpack team?
I think it'll make a fairly big difference, but I think they got enough pieces to overcome it.
Concepcion was a special talent.
Oh, man, he's a great player now. All right, so key players.
Obviously, you got C.J. Bailey, you got tight end Justin Jolly, you got Noah Rogers and Hollywood Smothers, as Sean said. You also have nose tackle Brandon Cleveland, Sean Brown, and Caden Fordham up on the defensive line, rather. You got Temple transfer Trey Thomas at linebacker. So they got several good players.
All right, John, key games for this Wolfpack team.
I think the first game's pretty key. East Carolina, they're going to be much improved. They play them at home. They got a very winnable schedule.
They do.
East Carolina,
especially the first half.
At Wake Forest, at Duke, Virginia Tech, Campbell, at Notre Dame, which is tough.
Yeah, the first half.
Which is always a tough place to play at Pitt, Georgia Tech, at Miami, and Florida State. The back half of it is pretty difficult.
It is, but the first half is manageable.
Now, the first half, I think they got enough to get them to a bowl game. The second half, they're going to have to steal a couple of games. So, those are my takes on the key games there.
All right. Will, key games.
They got to come out fast against East Carolina, then they get Virginia, and they got Wake Forest. I think they could be pretty good heading into Notre Dame, but they got to beat Notre Dame. They got Georgia Tech, Florida State, Miami. Their second half is brutal.
It is.
It's a brutal stretch.
It is. All right. Keys to the season for this NC State team, John.
I think it's their defense. I think their defense will take them where they need to go. I think the offense is pretty set. They just need, they don't need another collapse like they did a year ago.
One thing I'll say about this team, Will, is at home under the head coach here, like they've been really good at home.
They have been really good at home. I think the key to the season, they got to start 5-1 or 6-0.
I agree with that, looking at their schedule. I really do. All right, running down their schedule. They start out East Carolina, Virginia at home, Wake Forest on the road, Duke on the road, Virginia Tech at home, Campbell at home. Then they go on the road to Notre Dame, on the road to Pitt, Georgia Tech at home, Miami on the road, Florida State at home, and they end the season North Carolina at home. So the back half is a little heavy. The front half is a little weak, to be honest. So where do you have NC State, John, win-wise?
Probably at 7. I think they're at 7. I think their defense is going to be the key to their season.
All right. Will, what do you think?
I have an 8-4 and then a New Year's Day bowl.
I think they can go 8-4. I really do, especially if they can get that first win at East Carolina. If they could be 6-0, I think they can get to 8 wins. That's where I think. All right, now the next team we're going to get to is Notre Dame. I put them in here because they are in the ACC and everything else, and we don't do an independence. There's only one independent team, so really to talk about, UConn is the other. But let's go Notre Dame here, John.
I like this Notre Dame team. They played, last year in the national championship. They got probably 2 of the best running back tandems in the country in Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price.
Yep.
But the biggest issue is they're going to have a new starting quarterback for the 6th straight year, Brad.
Yeah.
They play USC early, a trip to Miami. They play a group of 5 team in Boise State. This schedule is made to impress the committee if they can make some noise.
For sure, their schedule is pretty brutal, to be honest with you. And if they can manage to go through this schedule, so. Will, what do you think about this Notre Dame team?
They have some great running backs, as we saw in the national title game, which also happens to be the first time I met you and John.
Yep.
They have one of the best coaches in the country, if not the best coach in the country. I think it'll be his last year at Notre Dame, though. Their schedule is brutal. They also have that star wide receiver whose name I cannot remember. At least I think he's back.
Yeah, he was just a freshman, wasn't
he?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, key players.
I think their quarterback, Carr. I think Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price is going to have big seasons for Notre Dame in the backfield. They're special to watch.
All right, Will, key players.
Jeremiah Love. That receiver whose name I cannot remember. I should remember it.
Is it Lighthouse?
There you go.
I think it's Lighthouse.
Who's absolute
Greyhouse.
Greyhouse.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a really dynamic wide receiver.
Yeah, man. He's tough.
They also have C.J. Carr. They've also added Malachi Fields out of Virginia, Will Pauling out of Wisconsin. And their center, Ashton Craig, looks to be an NFL prospect.
All right, key games, man. They got a bunch of them right off the bat, to be honest.
I'm going to tell you, they play Miami on the road right out of the gate. I think this game is going to determine where they go.
I think that's a neutral site game, I believe.
I'll say this. If they beat Miami, a head-to-head win will be very efficient when it comes to Selection Sunday. And if you beat Boise State and they both win their leagues, you beat two champs right there, Miami, if they was to win their league. So one thing the committee won't do is that they won't take another bad loss like they did a year ago, losing to Northern Illinois on a last-second field goal. They're lucky they even got in the field. Let's be honest.
Will, key games for Notre Dame.
Their first two games,
exactly.
Miami, then Texas A&M.
Yep.
There's a real chance they're 0-2 heading to Purdue. They also got Boise State, USC. So if they can survive those first two games undefeated, they have a chance to have a special year.
They do. I agree with that 100%. Keys to the season, I'm going to guess that's kind of your key to the season then, those first two games.
If they can survive those first two games, go 1-1 or 2-0, they're going to have a special year. Also, how well does C.J. Carr produce? And just keeping Jeremiah Love healthy.
All right, John, keys to the season here.
Like I said, I think it's their quarterback play. I think him being a freshman, I think, that's tough on kids, you know what I mean? Like, especially on the road against a team like Miami. So I think he needs to produce right out of the gate really quick.
Speaking of that, they start out in that Affleck kickoff. I think it's neutral site against Miami. Then they get Texas A&M at home.
Oh, it's at Miami.
Is it?
Yeah, it's at Hard Rock Cafe.
Okay. Texas A&M at home, Purdue at home. They go on the road at Arkansas, Boise State at home.
Arkansas won't be easy. Arkansas will be a lot better.
Then they get NC State at home, USC at home, Boston College on the road, Navy at home, Pitt on the road, Syracuse at home, and they end the season at Stanford. So with that, kind of a tough schedule there. John, where do you see the win total for this team?
I think they're at 10. I think there's 10 wins there for Notre Dame. I think they get back to the college football playoff.
All right. Will?
I might be considered crazy for what I'm about to say. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish are going to walk into the college football playoffs with a record of 12 wins and no losses.
Wow.
That's going to be tough.
Look, I like this Notre Dame team, but I'm not sure I got them at 12. I got them 10 or 11.
Their schedule is what's
it's brutal. I mean, honestly, they could be 9-3.
There's some tough games in there.
and still have a good year, to be honest. But I'm going to give them 10. But, man, they got a brutal schedule for a large part there. All right, we're going to Pitt. What's your initial thoughts on Pitt?
Man, doesn't it seem that every year Pitt starts out really quick? They have some really good starts, and they think, well, they're gonna take the nation by storm, and then it just like they fall apart. That was last year.
I think Pitt's pretty mid, to be honest with you. That's my just initial thought, to be honest.
I'm going to go with this might very well be Pat Narduzzi's last year at Pitt. Well, great guy.
I think just last year's late season collapse was ugly.
Let's go with key players, John. Let's kind of go through this one a little bit faster. So
I'll go first if you don't mind, John.
I think they got a good back in Desmond Reed. They got Eli Holstein, former Alabama backup. They got some pieces there. I think, they got some really good defensive players in Rasheem Biles, Kyle Lewis, Rashad Battle. But there's some pieces there to win, but I might will if Pat Narduzzi does not provide anything of substance like he did a year ago. I think you got to think about moving on and trying to find a better direction.
Key players for Pitt:
Eli Holstein, Desmond Reed. They both have to produce. They have to get something out of Kenny Johnson and Raphael Poppy Williams Jr. Their defense has to be able to stop people. Kyle Lewis was an All-American and All-ACC. He needs to have another big year. He had 101 tackles last year, guys. Yeah. He also had 15 and a half tackles for loss, 7 sacks. And Rasheem Biles needs to have a big year.
Key games for Pitt, John.
I think the West Virginia game's as big as any of them. The backyard brawl. I mean, that's huge for, momentum.
They get that, and then Louisville at home in back-to-back games in week 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's tough for Pitt early. So I think you got to win at least those two to get out of the gate quick.
Will, key games.
They have to they have a chance to start 3-0 rather easily. They got Duquesne, Central Michigan, and West Virginia, their first 3.
Yep.
So they need to be 3-0 when Louisville comes to town. If they do that, they might have an all right year. If they're not 3-0, they're probably not going to be very good.
All right, keys to the season. John, what do you got?
Their offense. Their offense went straight, plummeted at the end of the year. I think their offense needs to be more improved.
All right, Will, keys to the season.
Start 3-0. Their offense has to take care of the ball. They have to score points, and their defense has to at least be middle of the pack in the ACC.
All right, so their schedule, like you said, they start out with Duquesne, Central Michigan, West Virginia on the road in the backyard brawl. They get Louisville at home, Boston College at home, Florida State on the road, but then they have Syracuse on the road, NC State at home, Stanford on the road, Notre Dame at home later in the year, Georgia Tech on the road, and they finish the year with Miami at home. So the back end of their schedule gets tough. With that said, John, what's the win total you have for the Pitt Panthers?
7 at the most. I think.
All right, Will?
I think 7's where they need to be.
7 is their ceiling. I'm going to say 5-7, but they could get to 7-5.
I'm going to say they actually get to 6, and they can go 6-6. Is what I'm going to say for Pitt. All right, SMU. SMU come in first season, John, and got to the championship game.
They did.
Kind of blew it, but what's your initial thought here with SMU and the ACC?
Man, this is your team.
I do like this team.
Yeah. What's that you call them?
I go way back with my SMU, okay?
Yeah, you go.
I'm in the way back machine. Eric Dickerson, all that bunch.
The Pony Express.
The Pony Express, yeah. I'm in the way back machine. I remember those days as a kid. I'm
going to be honest with you, man. I love Lashley.
I love Lashley. Lashley's a great coach.
Lashley is a great coach, man. There might not be a better coach in college football than him.
Outside of Dabo, I'll be honest with you, and I know Will was talking about Braun, but I'm not so sure Lashley's not the second best coach in the ACC.
They had Chad Morris, they had Sonny Dykes. He's transformed this whole program from top to bottom. They benched Preston Stone last year for Kevin Jennings. I think that was right out of the gate, 2 games in.
I think.
They was really, really good. They got some solid pass catching backs and TJ Harden, Chris Johnson Jr. from Miami. So this is another opportunity for SMU to do some noise again this year.
All right, Will, what's your thoughts on SMU?
I really like SMU. I like Rhett Lashley. I'm glad they're in the ACC right now. I don't think they'll be in the ACC very long. In fact, if the SEC expands again, I want to be shocked to see SMU get an invite. But I think they might make it back to the college football playoffs last year. It all depends on whether or not they can replace Bashard Smith and whether or not Kevin Jennings can have another good year.
I agree with those, to be honest with you, on both of them. So key players, John, who you got? The quarterback for sure.
The quarterback. I mean, Jennings. They have 6 returning starters on offense. They got their O-line back. So they should be pretty strong offensively. So I really like this SMU team. They're the last 2 years have been really impressive. And if you want to doubt them, go right ahead. But they've done their work. So,
all right, Will, key players on this SMU team.
Kevin Jennings, Jordan Hudson, Romello Brinson, RJ Maryland, Matthew Hibner. It all depends on whether or not they can have another dynamic offense. I'm going to say Kevin Jennings finishes in the top 5 in the Heisman.
Interesting. Top 5 in the Heisman?
Yep. I think they're going to have a pretty good year.
All right. Key games, John.
Tough stretch for them, Brad. They play. This is probably going to be the biggest work they're going to have to come through with. They play Miami and Louisville at home, Clemson away. So they play Baylor at home and TCU away. They're going to have to win some of those Miami, Louisville, Clemson games if they're going to go like they did a year ago, back to the playoff.
All right. Will, key games.
John, I'm shocked you didn't pick Texas A&M, whoever that is. But
yeah. That's the second time I've seen them tonight on a ACC schedule, by the way.
They're going to have to beat Baylor, TCU. They won another shot at Clemson. I think they need to win that game. They got Miami. As a Louisville fan, I want no part of that game. Hopefully we get COVID or something. That game doesn't happen. that won't work out very well in our favor. It didn't last year. I don't see why it would this year.
All right, keys to the season, John.
I think it's their quarterback play.
And lastly, honestly, the fire that he shows, like seriously.
Yeah, where does Jennings go from last year to this year? Like, where's his progressions at?
Yeah. What you got, Will?
Jennings, whether or not Lashley can stay focused on SMU, we all know come October and November they're going to be talking about whether Lashley.
I'm surprised he's still there, to be honest.
I think he'll be in the SEC somewhere next year, just to turn depends on what
honestly,
job is open.
I agree with that 1,000%. Schedule rundown. They do that Texas A&M. I don't know if that's Eastern. I'm not sure. They do get Baylor at home, Missouri State on the road. Looks like TCU on the road, Syracuse at home, Stanford at home, Clemson on the road, Wake Forest on the road, Miami at home, Boston College on the road, Louisville at home, and they end the season at California. So with that said, John, what do you think this SMU, the Mustangs, where do you think they end up?
I think they're at 9, maybe 10, depending on some of those games I just mentioned a minute ago. So I think there's a great chance for them to make some more noise and get back to the playoff again.
Will, what do you think with the Mustangs?
I think they're going to go 9-3 at worst, 10-2 at best. And just so you know, East Texas A&M last year went 3-9 in the FCS.
Well, that's the second time they've been on an ACC schedule tonight. That's all I'm telling you. All right.
Went 3-9.
I'm just throwing that out, man. The Pony Express, I'm going to say Lashley has them 10-2, and he does move on to possibly the SEC next season and take a job because I
think there's a bigger job in his future.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. 100%. All right, Stanford. We can do this one probably pretty quick. John, initial thoughts on this Stanford team? Not good.
I mean, it's not been great. Let's be honest.
They need to hire. They need to go back and hire some of them quarterbacks or something they had back 12 years ago.
It's been a disaster, honestly. It's Stanford, with the
wasn't luck from there.
Room, Christian McCaffrey. You can't Frank Wright. I think that's how you spell it. He's a former Indianapolis coach and Carolina Panthers coach. He has the resume. I don't know, man. He's not going to do any worse than Taylor did. I mean, he went 3-9 in each of his 2 years. So
they were picked dead last. So, Will, what's your initial thought here with this Stanford team?
There's just a low bar here. Let's just be honest.
Frank Reich is the interim coach. Andrew Luck is the general manager of the football program.
Yeah.
Andrew, I love you, buddy. I'm a Colts fan. Thank you for everything you've done for us. But you got 4, 5, 6 years before you're even relevant in the ACC.
I just don't think things turn out for an interim coach. Let's put it.
I agree with you, but I think Frank Wright and Drew Luck being there maybe can get this program turned around. I am not going to run through some of this stuff that we've been doing with them. Just to be honest with you, I think they are a long ways away. To be honest,
yeah, they're about 3 or 4 years away at the most.
Yeah, so I am going to run through their schedule. They start out Hawaii. I believe that's at Hawaii. They play at BYU, Boston College at home, Virginia on the road, San Jose State at home, SMU on the road, Florida State at home, Miami on the road, Pitt at home, North Carolina on the road, California at home, and they end the season with Notre Dame at home. With that schedule, with this Stanford team,
3 wins at minimum.
Could be
minimum?
2.
I mean,
you mean max, I think.
Max, yeah. I mean, that's.
I'm looking at the schedule, Brad, and I'm trying to figure out where the wins come from. Maybe San Jose State and Hawaii?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm saying 2 wins, maybe. That's what I'm saying.
2-10 at best, with the chance to go 0-12.
That's what I'm saying. All right, Syracuse. John, what's your initial thoughts on the Orange?
I like Syracuse. I think they improved a year ago. I thought Fran Brown was in his second year. They was 10-3. Things are probably going to be a lot rougher this year. They play 5.
There's no Will Howard. I will say that.
Yeah, well, and they play 5 top 20 teams, and their offense only returns 2 starters. So there's a lot to like about this team, and there's a lot.
We're going to find out about them pretty quick.
And Brown's been really good. So we'll find out.
Will, what's your initial thoughts on the Orange here? No Will Howard?
No Will Howard. They play top 5, top 20 teams. They did get Ricky Collins to transfer in from LSU. They have a really, they have a hard schedule.
Key players.
I think Jonte Cook from Texas is one of them.
Yeah.
I think bringing him in was really huge as a transfer wide receiver. Steve Angeli, the quarterback from Notre Dame. And last year's rusher and 3 of their targets are gone. So there's going to be a lot to replace here for Syracuse. And it whether it's good or bad, we'll find out what Syracuse is made of.
What's your key players here for the Orange?
Veteran safety, Deuce Chestnut, nickelback Devin Grant, linebacker Derek McDonald, and again, how good does Ricky Collins look?
Yeah, Rich from LSU, yeah.
All right, key games, John.
I think you got to look at the Tennessee
right off the bat.
I think Tennessee is huge, man. First game of the year, big opportunity in Atlanta.
Tennessee may be starting a true freshman.
Well, we really don't know what Tennessee's going to be at all either. So we'll find out.
Will, key games.
They get Tennessee pretty early. Trying to remember some of those other Power 5 games they had.
They get Jim Nora Jr. in the second game, UConn as well, and he's had them going pretty decent.
They also have to face Clemson, SMU, Miami, Notre Dame, UConn, Tennessee.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Their schedule's brutal.
All right. Keys to the season. Getting through some of that schedule, I think, is going to be a key.
Yeah, that's the key to them, yeah.
Not only that, getting through that part of the schedule healthy.
Yeah. All right, schedule rundown for the Orange. They start out with Tennessee. That's part of that Aflac kickoff. And then they're at home with UConn, Colgate, a couple of winnable games. UConn, though, will be scary for them probably, I think. Clemson on the road, Duke at home, SMU on the road, Pitt at home, Georgia Tech on the road, North Carolina at home, Miami on the road, Notre Dame on the road, and then they end the season with Boston College at home. That's a pretty tough schedule.
They're maybe
win
6
total.
wins. It's going to be tough from going from 10-3 to 6 wins, but that schedule is going to be really, really tough.
Will, I'm not sure they get to 6 wins. I don't think they go bold.
I got them going 5-7.
That's where I'm at, is 5. I don't even think they get to 6 wins, to be honest with you. That's kind of where I am with them. Virginia. Let's go with Virginia. John, what do you think on Virginia?
Well, Tony Elliott's not been great there. Let's just put it at that. I mean, he's 11-23 in 4 years. So now I will say they improved last year. They had 5 wins. The defense was pretty good against the run. The offense showed some life. But they played a lot of really tough teams and went, I think, 0-6 in some of those. So anything is better than what they've done.
Will, is he on the hot seat?
They've just been really terrible under Elliott.
He is on the hot seat. However, they have upgraded the quarterback with Anthony Colandrea. I probably said his name wrong. They avoid the top 4 teams in the AC standings from last year. So if Elliott's ever going bowling, it'll be this year or never.
Yeah, they got a light schedule this year.
Let's get to that. Let's just skip to key games for this Virginia team. John, where do you think on key games?
I think, I think NC State real early. I mean, they play Coastal, which is never easy. Coastal's really been really good in football. They've always had really, really good teams. So we'll find out. I mean, the schedule's light, but it's not. I don't know.
I'm going to give you a key game that I think playing Washington State at home is going to be a key game for them.
That'll be a key game, and I'm a diehard Louisville fan, and they always play us really hard. We all either lose or struggle to beat them. That's another key game for them.
All right, schedule rundown for them. They start out with Coastal on the road at NC State, William and Mary at home, Stanford at home. They play Florida State at home, Louisville on the road, Washington State at home, North Carolina on the road, California on the road, Wake Forest at home, Duke on the road, and they end the season with Virginia Tech at home. With that said, does this team go bowling for the first time in a while, John?
I think they hit 5 wins again. I think there's just a few hiccups there, but it's lighter than what they've had. So
yeah,
so I don't see Tony Elliott keeping his job if he can't get to a bowl game, because that's going to be his 4th year and
yeah,
4 years he ain't made a bowl. I mean, that's tough.
Does this Virginia team, the Cavaliers, get to a bowl?
No, and I don't think they come close. I have them going 4-8.
All right. I mean, I think 5 or 6 wins is attainable on this schedule. I really do. But we'll see with where Virginia winds up here in the ACC. We are going to go to Virginia Tech next. John, what's your initial thoughts here? Is Virginia Tech starting to find their old rhythm?
I think they are. I mean, last year they caught fire with drones at their quarterback. Tootin was their running back. They've shown flashes, top 20. And I think, they're having a massive turnover in the roster again. But Drones is back. That's one key thing. They added some decent running backs in the portal. Terry and Stewart, Braden Bennett from Coastal. So they got some pieces there to make things happen. I think there's more upside with this team than there was a year ago.
Will, what do you think here with Virginia Tech?
I really like Brent Pry. I think he's a good coach. Their season's going to come down to whether or not new coordinator Philip Montgomery, who also did coach RG3 at Baylor. can get the most out of drones.
He's actually the former Tulsa coach.
Yeah.
He was the coach at Tulsa.
All right. So key games. What do you got as key games for Virginia Tech?
I think you got to look at the first two. They play South Carolina and Vanderbilt. They play 2 SEC teams right out of the gate.
That is true. They do play 2 SEC teams right off the bat.
They play South Carolina in a neutral site game, and then they play actually, no. Yeah, they do.
No, South Carolina's at South Carolina, I'm pretty sure.
It's at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's right. It's in Atlanta.
Okay.
But they play Vanderbilt at home. So,
yeah,
I think the South Carolina game is going to be very interesting, Brad, because, you got Shane Beamer. His dad was the coach at Virginia Tech for so many years, Frank.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of intrigue in that first opening matchup.
There is. I agree with that. So, Will, is that your key game?
That in the Georgia Tech game.
I think Vanderbilt, to be honest with you, because Vanderbilt thinks they're going to do something in college football. I'm saying their mindset after last year. So if you ask me, I think they could afford to drop the South Carolina game, but they cannot drop the Vanderbilt game.
I agree with that.
All right, talking about their schedule. They start out with South Carolina. They play Vandy at home, Old Dominion at home, Wofford at home, NC State on the road, Wake Forest at home.
There's some winnable games there.
Yeah, Georgia Tech on the road, California at home, Louisville at home, Florida State on the road, Miami at home, and then they end the season at Virginia. So win total. John, I think Virginia Tech is needing to get back to a bowl. So do they get back to a bowl here?
I think they do. I think they get 7 wins. I think there's 7 wins there.
Yeah, I have 7-5.
Yeah, 7.
I think there's hope in Blacksburg. I think if you beat South Carolina and beat Vanderbilt, you're probably going bowling.
I think you absolutely have to split those games for sure. You cannot.
But if you win both of them, you're probably going to the bowl game. So,
if you win both of those, then you're setting up for a pretty good season. I feel like
you're probably going to win 7, maybe even 8.
Maybe if you could win both. Wake Forest. We're going to finish up the ACC with Wake Forest.
Jake Dicker, his first year. Dave Clawson, I just want to shout out to him. What an error that he had. He built Wake Forest, developed them. They didn't have a lot of money, I don't think, with NIL portal stuff. It changed a lot of things. I think he was another one of those like Saban. Just a lot of things just fell apart.
He did some good things with quarterbacks.
He did. A lot of players left. There just wasn't enough talent to work with. But I'm going to say this, Brad. If there's anybody that knows how to put your best players in action, it's Jake Deckard. He went 20-18 in 3 years at Washington State. He turned the Cougars plumb around. And I think he'll do the same with Wake Forest. But there's still a lot of
I don't think it's going to be in year one. I really don't.
It's still, like I said, it's still fair to question where the talent level is on both sides of this ball for the Demon Deacons.
Will, what do you think here with this Wake Forest team? It's going to be a year or two, isn't it? A couple of years?
Yeah. Enjoy your retirement, Dave Clawson. Hell of a nice guy. I don't know if either one of you've ever got a chance to say hello to him or talk to him. Really nice guy. He did what he could with the program. Unfortunately, Wake Forest just doesn't have the most money.
Well, and I think too, I know the whole Saban thing. Everybody talks about it where he left because of portal and NIL, but like that was part of Saban leaving. Like some of these older coaches are leaving the profession because they just can't keep up with the times anymore. It's a whole new era, and I think Dave Clawson's seen that, the writing on the wall. And don't get me wrong, he had some really good Wake Forest teams, really, really good.
So, I mean, they've got some winnable games right off the bat. I am going to start with that here. They have Kennesaw State and Western Carolina at home.
Yeah, they play NC State.
They get NC State at home, Georgia Tech at home. First month of the season, they're at home. Virginia Tech on the road, Oregon State on the road.
I think that's an interesting game, a non-con.
Yeah, SMU at home, Florida State on the road, Virginia on the road, North Carolina at home. They get Delaware at home late in the season, and then they end at Duke. So, what's your win total for this Wake Forest team?
I think they're sitting at probably 5 wins. It's going to be tough to get 6, but there's a stretch in there, I think, Brad, that right out of the gate they could possibly get to a bowl game if, they steal a couple of those games early, Georgia Tech, NC State, maybe an Oregon State, but that's even tough on the road. So I think 5 wins is probably the max for them.
What do you think, Will? I
got them going either 4-8 or 5-7. I do love the hire. They got the right guys.
Yeah, Jake Dickert is a really good coach.
I'm going to give them 4 wins. They might get to 5, but I think they're a season or 2 away, to be honest with you, here in the ACC. All right, guys, that wraps up each team that I did kind of run through the last half there, a few of those teams a little quicker so we could wrap this up. But I do want to get to a couple of things here before we go. John, this is important here for the ACC preview show. What 2 teams do you have in the championship game for the ACC?
I think it's going to be Clemson, and I think you got to go Miami. I think Miami will get there again. Even if they lose maybe 2 games, I think they'll still end up maybe 3, probably non-con. I still think they'll get to the ACC championship game, and I think Clemson ultimately wins it.
Well, that was my next question.
Well, I think Clemson gets back to the playoff, and I actually think Clemson's got a really good shot at going to the title game again. I think they've got experience. They brought back quite a bit from their offense. Their defense is going to be much improved. I think Dabo gets back to his winning ways again.
All right, so I did that for you. Will, what 2 teams do you have in the ACC championship game?
I'm about to be called a homer. I know that, just putting that out there. It's going to be Clemson versus Louisville, and Clemson's going to win it.
Okay, Clemson and Louisville, and Clemson wins. That's yours?
Yep.
I'm actually going to call the rematch from last year. I'm going to say it's Clemson and SMU. That's who I have.
SMU has a really good shot to get there, but
mine, and I'm kind of being a homer here with SMU. Eric Dickerson was my absolute favorite player as a kid. I absolutely loved Eric Dickerson with SMU and the Pony Express, and also at the Rams. And he was my favorite player as a kid. I loved watching him run. He had such a style that is so different than anybody else that I've ever seen run the football. And anyways, so I'm kind of being a homer here and picking SMU to get back to the but I do really like this SMU team and Rhett Lashley. And we'll see if this pin turns out as far as who wins the ACC, guys. I think this Clemson team is the best team in the league. I'm with you, John. I think this Clemson team can make some noise in the college football playoffs. Mm-hmm. Will they win a title? I don't think so. I think they will fall short, maybe get to the final 4 teams, the semifinals or something like that. But I do think this Clemson team is a really, really good team.
I just think they're more experienced. They, like I said, they got Peter Woods. They got some really good edge defenders, and they bring back their whole offense. They bring Klubnik, their wide receivers. Wesco is probably one of my favorite wide receivers they got. He's really
I'm not
good.
as big on Miami, John. I think Louisville is going to be up in there as well. Will, I'm not selling them short in the ACC here. Braum has proven it the last 2 years that he's going to have them up there in the ACC as well. But I'm going SMU and Clemson. And that, guys, is going to wrap up our ACC college football preview for 2025. This is kicking off season 4. This is episode 1, season 4.
And I will say that August 22nd, we might move the time back to 6:00.
Okay, yeah, before
we had talked about that because
high school football. Yeah,
although there's some college football games on that night, and
Go Trinity.
Me and you had mentioned that we might move that time back, so it might be an early night for that.
So next week we are planning to do the Big Ten for college football preview shows. We do the power conferences on Friday night. I will try to get the bugs worked out of this, so my video and everything is working here. I apologize for the running late, 20 minutes late or so on the show. So, but I had some like bugs going on in my system here tonight.
That's why you're doing audio tonight.
Yep. That's why I'm just on audio. My camera was whack and wasn't running. I got it on and then it would shut off. I got it on and it would shut off. And it was just kind of whack. So I just left it off so we could do the show. Go to Home Field Apparel. Check them out for some really cool vintage licensed collegiate apparel, retro mascots, throwback shirts, jerseys, some really cool stuff. Use SportsCast for a 15% discount if you have never purchased for them before. If you use the SportsCast code, it will help us out, and we appreciate that. We are on the Real Fresh channel, and we write with Stadium Rant, so I want to put that out there. Check both of them out. Will is from Stadium Rant. He's on Ringside Rant. Just want to throw that out. So check that show out. Check out both the Real Fresh channel and the Stadium Rant on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And we will see you guys next week. We will be doing our Big Ten preview show next week. The week after that will be the Big 12, and then we will follow that up on August 22nd with the SEC. So we'll try to get the bugs worked out. Will, I appreciate you being with us. Will might come back another time or two here to do these preview shows.
I think Nicholas is coming on next week.
Yeah, and
Nicholas is going to do the Big Ten. I'll be back the week after that.
Okay, so Nicholas is going to be with us next week with the Big Ten, and we appreciate you guys coming on with us and having a little bit of fun. Sorry for the technical difficulties tonight, but sometimes that happens.
It is what it is. Yeah.
All right, guys. We're going to wrap this up. This has been College SportsCast ACC Football Preview Show for 2025, kicking off Season 4. Y'all have a good night. Enjoy August, because at the end, we got football.
Yes, sir.
Y'all have a good night.